All right, fellow coders, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next episode of this Coders Campus podcast. As always, I'm Trevor Page, your host and the founder of the brand. I've been a programmer for about 15 years now, and I have been teaching people how to code for the past 12. It's been quite a ride. And one thing that I've seen, and what I want to talk about today in my journey, is the struggle with respect to getting your first job as a software programmer, engineer, developer, whatever terminology you want to use. And when it comes to getting that first job, hopefully understands that it's difficult, but I want to dive into why it is difficult, because I have a unique position, if you will, a unique perspective as being someone who has not only trained thousands of programmers, but also someone who hires programmers to be able to get help as, in my companies that I run doing software development. I have the ability to see both sides of the equation. Now, on the side where there are aspiring programmers, right? These are people who have learned how to code in some way, shape, or form. Maybe they've gone through university, maybe they've gone through a coding boot camp, or maybe they're completely self-taught with some, low-cost online courses or whatnot. A lot of them might graduate from said program. So maybe they put in the reps and put in the work, and they've earned their 4-year computer science degree, or they've done their, 14-week coding boot camp, or whatever the case may be. They put in the work, they put in the hours, and then they say, all right, I now deserve a job. And they expect that the world owes them a job, and the job should fall in their lap. Now, I'm being a bit, hyperbolic here. I'm being a bit ridiculous with my statements, but that is honestly what a portion of the people that fall into this category think. They think they are owed a job. Now, unfortunately, the way the real world works is that's not what happens, right? You don't just get a job that falls into your lap. And this is not unique to software development by any means. This goes along with most professional type entry-level positions wherever you go, right? You don't just automatically get handed a job unless the marketplace is very much skewed and out of whack with respect to the job openings and the desperate need of qualified individuals and the lack of qualified individuals in that pool. Okay, in other words, supply and demand. If the supply-demand curves are way out of whack and there's way more demand than there is supply, well then yeah, you might be in the situation where a job can land on your lap. Unfortunately, when it comes to software engineering or software development or whatever you want to call it, that's not the case. Supply and demand curves are, and have always been, again, I don't want to paint a picture as though recent times this has changed. This has been the way it was since I graduated and had a 4-year computer science degree back in 2006. So how long ago was that? Almost 20 years now. Is that right? 20 years? 2006? Well, yeah, almost 20 years ago. So back in 2006, when I was landing in the job market and trying to get myself a job, I struggled. Guess what? I couldn't get a job. The world owed me nothing, right? So nothing has changed since 2006, and likely nothing has changed since 1996 or something when it comes to this market. Just because you have the skills does not mean you are owed the job. Cool? Understood? Let's move on. How can you get to the point where, I don't want to say you are owed the job, but how do you get to the point where you should reasonably assume that you have what it takes and that you should be able to find a job within a reasonable period of time? Call it months, not years, right? So how do you get to that point? Well, there's a few different ways that you can get there. There are common approaches that are taught online will tell you things like, okay, first you need to learn how to code, right? That's step one. If you don't know how to code, you got to figure it out, right? However that is. You can do self-taught, you can do a university, you can do a coding boot camp. Obviously, in Coders Campus, we offer a coding boot camp, and I stand behind it with all of my heart, 100% integrity, because I truly think that is the 100% best way to get the skills that you need to be job ready, okay? Bar none. The computer science path, computer science degree path, is the longest and most expensive way to get there, okay? So if you have money to spend and you have years to put into it, go for it. Okay? If you're ready and you'll follow through with it, by all means, go for it, okay? If you have absolutely no money, no way to get any sort of financing, your credit score is awful, you have no one in your life that will vouch for you and co-sign on a loan or whatever to get some sort of paid education under your belt, then you have no choice but to do self-taught. And thankfully, the world that we live in, the way that you can educate yourself online for free now is limitless, okay? There's limitless information out there that will help you to learn all of this stuff on your own with either paying nothing or paying very little. The problem with this approach is it also takes a lot of time because it is very hard. Everyone underestimates the difficulty. Everyone thinks, oh, if I just pull up my bootstraps and try my hardest and put in the time and effort, I'll be able to figure it all out within, 6 months, because that feels like a reasonable time span. Maybe a year, right? And for some people, that is possible. If you are someone who has done that before, who has added a very valuable skill set to your belt completely in a self-taught manner, you have the discipline. You have what it takes. You probably can do this too all by yourself, okay? So you might even be doing that right now. Fantastic, okay? It's just very difficult. That's why there's a large volume of people who want to do the middle ground, okay? They don't want to take 4 years and spend almost, $50,000 to $100,000 in education to get to the finish line, so to speak. And they don't want to take years going on their own at a very slow pace. They want to go fast, but they don't want to pay $50,000, right? So that's where coding bootcamp sort of solve that middle ground. That's why I do what I do. I've tried to do it the other way, the free / low cost way, and it's just, I've seen the results. People just don't make it through those types of programs because people need help, they need accountability, they need engagement, they need instruction from teachers, they need live classes, they need blah, 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 right? Everything that we actually offer inside of the coding bootcamp. So, all right, back to what I was talking about. Step 1 is learn how to code. If you want to get the job, you got to know how to code. There's no way around it, okay? So you got to learn how to code. Step 1. Whatever path you want to take to get there, that's all on you. I give you my blessing however way you want to do it. So step 2 is you need to prove that you do know how to code, right? And the common ways to do this. So when it comes to getting a job, you need to prove to an employer that you do know how to code. So as myself, being an employer, if someone just tells me, oh, I graduated from this university or I did these training programs and, I know how to code. Well, fantastic. I can't just take you at your word because I've been burned enough times, and so have many other employers, by people who don't necessarily walk the walk when they talk the talk. So you got to prove it to me. Right? And the number one thing that most employers want in terms of proof is past experience. So show me that you have worked at a job where your role was to develop software on a team, maybe even in an agile software development environment, and talk to me about that experience. And if I like what you say, and if it sounds like you know what you're talking about, then I'm going to call your employer to check and see, to do a reference check to see, were you actually a good worker, or are you just making this all up? And sometimes people make up this kind of stuff. That is what the employer wants. They want proof that you know how to code, proof that you are who you say you are with respect to the skills that you say you have. So how can you prove it, right? Other than just real world experience, you need to get, if you have a job where you did software development, fantastic. You're already on your way to getting there. But hey, if you already have a job as a software developer, would you really be listening to me right now doing this whole, rigmarole? So I'm assuming that you probably don't have a job as a software engineer, or you have a job as a software engineer, but you're transitioning into something like a Java stack, because I focus on Java stack. So, okay, I'm gonna assume you're not one of those two people right now. So I'm assuming you are either close to the point where you can code, step 1, or you have completed step 1 and you are looking for your first job. So the common paths to getting there are: 1, you contribute to open source. You hear this a lot, right? Go find an open source project and start contributing. Not a bad way to get experience. Does this reflect the real world, for realsies? I don't think so. I think it lacks a little bit of meetings. It lacks direct collaboration with others, like via Zoom or whatever, or be even in person. It lacks certain areas in terms of the real world experience. Will it give you experience understanding a brand new code base? Yes. Will it give you experience dealing with Git or GitHub and branches and merge conflicts and all that stuff? Yes. Will it give you experience with people destroying you on your pull requests and saying how awful your code is and so on and so forth in a as professional a way as possible? Yes, you'll get that. So that's fantastic, but it's lacking in other areas, right? And you don't get paid. The other option is you can work for like a nonprofit. You can volunteer your time for a nonprofit. Now, in my opinion, this is probably a little better than doing open source contributions, because you start to get that actual real world collaboration team environment on top of the whole learning, doing the whole coding thing and everything I said about contributing to open source, right? The downside to this approach, other than you also don't get paid, is that you have to find one, right? And you have to go through the whole process to convince them that you are the volunteer that they need to, bring on board, and so on and so forth. So there's effort there. There's a little bit of friction. The other approach similar to this one in terms of volunteering your time for a nonprofit is you can do an unpaid internship. Unpaid internship is essentially the same thing as volunteering for it with a nonprofit, with the exception that doing an unpaid internship, you might not actually be focused on just doing coding, right? A lot of times internships make you do a whole bunch of other tasks that have absolutely nothing to do with the stuff that you want to be doing, like learning code and writing code and doing bug fixes and enhancements and all that stuff. So that's the one bigger downside to unpaid internships, other than you're not going to get paid, is you might not actually be working on the thing that you need to be working on for the real job, which is coding, right? And you got to find one. You got to go out there and find someone who's, willing to bring you on as an unpaid intern. So are there any other options? None of these options sound all that great, Trevor. So why are you talking about this? Why are you getting me down here? So there is another option, right? So this is something I've been thinking about for a long time, right? Like I said, I've been teaching people how to code for 12 years. This problem has been prevalent and available in the last, at least almost 20, as I said. I went through this experience myself. So there must be a better way. I hadn't found it yet. And I decided after, however long it's been, 12 years of me teaching and almost 20 years since I've gotten my first job, I said, fine, I think I can solve this problem myself under the Coders Campus brand. Okay? A bold statement, I know. Here's my best attempt at solving this problem. Step one, or part one of this, is you need to be actually doing the code, right? You need to be coding, period. If you're not actually doing what you would be doing in the real world to get the experience you need to talk about in interviews, there we go. If you're not getting that experience to be able to talk about this in interviews, if you're not, if you can't put it with integrity on your resume and say, this is my, real working experience, then it's not worth it. It shouldn't be done. First requirement is you need to be able to get real world experience in a real company with real customers, okay? Building real software. The second thing is you should be doing it collaboratively on a team, right? In a team environment. If you're doing software development completely on your own and you're wearing all the hats and doing everything, that's just not what happens in the real world. So you have to have exposure to other people, and you have to be able to learn how to work on a team, because you hear these interview questions like, tell me about a time when you were on a team and there was some sort of, disagreement between you and another coworker. How did you handle that situation? It's always better when you can say, well, at my last coding job, this situation came up, right? As opposed to when I worked at McDonald's, here's how I handled it. Now, while that example is still perfectly legitimate, it just lends a little bit more credibility when you can say, at my last software development job or position, right? So one is you need to be doing the coding. Two is you need to be doing it in a team environment. And three is you need to actually, hopefully, have some way of getting paid, right? In all the previous examples, there was no payment. There was no chance of payment, right? So nobody really wants to work for free. Sometimes we don't have a choice. We have to work and we have to make some sort of money, right? Imagine that. We have to pay for our lives here. So that is the biggest problem to the solving this whole thing, right? How do you add that third one in there? So here's my best attempt at solving the problem and hitting all three of these pillars, if you will, in terms of introducing a good solution. So inside of the Coders Campus brand, inside of the Coders Campus Bootcamp, what we have introduced and started as of August of 2024, the beginning of August 2024, is what I'm calling our Guaranteed Internship Program. Notice I didn't say Guaranteed Unpaid Internship Program. So here's how this thing works. You will be on a team with 5 to 8 other people. You will be all working towards a common goal of releasing real-world software that actual customers have paid for, right? You're going to be building that software along with your other team members, and you will be receiving guidance while you do that whole process by some sort of senior level person, right? At the moment, it is me, right? I'm the senior level person in there, guiding the teams and resolving any issues that come up and helping to, do the whole thing, right? From start to finish, launch software that customers will use in the real world. So at the moment, that's me. In the future, I anticipate that eventually someone else will come in who can free up my time, because I'm going to get, way too busy, and it's going to scale, and I'm going to need more people to help me out. So, but for now, it's me. So cool. You're going to be working and doing real code in the real world. You're going to be developing software for customers. Where those customers come from, I go and get them. So I also have 12 years of business experience. I know how to go talk to strangers, say, hey, what problems are you suffering from? figure out what problems that they suffer from on a day-to-day basis, and say, hey, I hear your problems that you have. Would you like me to try to solve this problem with some software? Because I think we can do that. And they say, okay, tell me more. And then we go back and forth, and then they say, hey, that's actually a good idea. And then I go to other people and say, hey, do you suffer from this same problem? And people put their hands up and say, yes, I do. And I say, well, we're developing software to solve that problem. Would you all like to pay me money up front for software that does not yet exist? In other words, this is called a pre-sale. Would you like to pre-buy or pre-order software that doesn't yet exist to show me that you really are interested in having this software solution developed? Because just because someone says that they want a solution does not mean that they will pay for it. So you need to make sure that they pay for it. Anyway, that's what I do. I go out, I get customers, and they pre-order this software that doesn't yet exist. And then that's where someone like you comes in, where you will be on the team of interns who are going to be building this software. Okay, cool. So you'll be doing actual real-world coding. Check, right? You will be doing actual real-world coding in a group environment, in a team environment. Absolutely, right? And the way the team environment works is everyone has a job as a coder, right? That's the whole point. You want to be doing development work, but you also wear another hat. Okay, and this is where there are a few different hats that you could be wearing in order to have the team work properly together and mimic a real-world environment. So we'll have like a project manager. So you'll be a software developer and project manager. So that's kind of like the person who's leading the team. And if you have, project management experience, then great, that helps. If you don't, that's okay. That's not mandatory. You'll figure it out as you go, right? We're not looking at you to be the best project manager ever. We just need someone to be in charge of keeping us somewhat on time and cracking the whip, right? So that's the first one. There's the business analyst role. So the business analyst will be in charge of documentation and documenting everything and translating what the customer wants into technical documents that the software developers can understand as well. So it's like sort of the go-between, right? And again, if you have experience doing business analyst type work and creating documentation, translating between customer talk and programmer talk, great. But if you don't have that experience, that's also fine too. So we have all these different hats that you can be wearing in order to help the team create the software that we're aiming to create, right? So we'll have a BA, a QA, so a quality assurance person, a Scrum Master, because we're doing agile development, and so on and so forth, right? So there's different roles inside of this team, and you'll be wearing both hats. You'll be wearing the hat of the one role as well as the software developer. Okay, that's how we do the team. And then obviously there's a person leading the whole team, like the software person who has, lots and lots of experience, right? Like I said, at this point, it's me. In the future, it could be, whoever we bring on who has, 15, 20 years of coding experience and knows how to do this and run a team. So that's how the team operates. And then you go and you do your thing and you build the software. So you build software, check. You do it in a team environment, check. And do you get paid? Well, here's how this works at the moment. The goal is obviously, I want to pay fair market value for every single person that works with us. That is absolutely the end goal. Can we do that starting today? No. But here's the absolute next best thing. This new company that will exist, there will be a new company that exists that houses all of these projects, all the internships that happen, all of the projects that we build, all the little apps and everything that we launch out into the marketplace, all of those will be under one company name. And what we're doing is all of the people that work in the internship will unlock a profit-sharing pool that comes from that company, okay? So what that means is once you develop your app and launch it, we being me and the team of people that I have, the marketers that I know, the salespeople that I know, the operations teams that I know, and blah, 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 everything that I've learned and all the people I've met who can help run these businesses, well, really just this one business, but run all these apps that we're going to be putting out in the marketplace and selling and whatnot, we all work together to make that a reality, to sell to customers and make profit. That's the whole point. The beauty of this model is software businesses are highly, highly profitable. They're one of the highest in terms of profitability out of any business. So you can think of a restaurant, I want to launch a restaurant. Horrendously unprofitable and notoriously, what's the word I'm looking for? Notoriously terrible success rates, right? The likelihood of you going out of business if you open a restaurant, very, very, very high. Right? The likelihood that you go out of business running a software company, when you know how to run a software company and you have a team of decent people creating the product, much, much lower. Much lower percentage chance of going out of business there. So the profitability in a software company is great. So profit sharing here makes a lot of sense to get started with. So there will be a pool of profits that come into this company. And again, not any one single app, right? Let's picture the business and it has 5 different apps, 5 different products, right? If any one of those products becomes a commercial success, if any one of them becomes a success, it will start kicking off profits to the business, right? And you, as the intern, if you're coming into this and you have profit sharing, you will unlock profits for the entire business, not just the app that you worked on, the entire business. So if you work on an app that unfortunately is not a commercial success, which yes, will happen, it's okay, because there could be other people in there who do future projects that haven't even been created yet that could become a commercial success, and you get to share in the profits of that. Okay, so that's how this profit sharing arrangement works. Now, obviously, this is a stopgap solution until we can get to the point where we have that commercial success. It's kicking off tons of profits, and then we can just do straight dollar for hour, boring, type of contract work. Okay, but I need a place to start, and this is the place that I think makes the most sense to start and gives you guys the ability to actually receive money, because that's what we want, right? I want it. We're all incentivized to get the exact same outcome, which is to have a commercially successful, not just single application, but many commercially successful applications that we launch into the workplace, or into the marketplace. So everyone's incentives are aligned, and you get, like I said, those 3 things. You get the experience, you get the team environment, and you actually have the ability to make money, right? This is not a guaranteed way to not make money. This is a way to unlock the opportunity to get money. Now, here's the downsides, right? I'm not just going to sugarcoat everything and paint a rainbow happy picture here. There actually is risk. There is a downside here where it could be that none of the applications that we launch get any sort of traction whatsoever. They all don't make any profit. No one is interested in paying for the software, and it goes nowhere. That is absolutely a possibility. So I'm not going to lie to you and pretend like that's not a possibility, okay? Here's why I think that the chances of that happening are a bit lower compared to anyone else doing this, okay? First is, I've been a software developer for 15 years. I know how to create software. I know how to lead a team. I know how to get it done. I know, okay? I've seen it before. I know exactly how to do everything from start to finish, okay? I also run a multi-million-dollar business, okay? So I've done this before. I've run a multi-million-dollar business, and I've helped my wife to run a business. She has started a business as well, and I'm helping her, and she's not far off from hitting similar levels of success, okay? So now, I can't take all the credit from that. My wife is very talented. So it's not my first rodeo, okay? So building a company from scratch and launching a product to a marketplace and talking to customers and bringing customers in, marketing to them, doing advertising, doing social media, having a sales team, none of this is new to me. I've been doing this for a long time. So the experience that I have, that I bring to the table with respect to the ability to do this is, significant, right? I don't want to stroke my ego too much, but I do have some expertise in these areas, okay? Because the number one story you hear is, hey, I'm a software developer and I'm going to try to create an app and launch it, and I'm going to make millions of dollars launching my app, and then nothing happens, right? Because a software developer on their own has no idea how to market, how to sell, how to lead, how to do operations, how to handle HR and legal and finance and all the different facets of a business. They've never done it before, right? So, really marketing and sales are the real reasons why it all goes down for someone who's never done it before. But yeah, that's, the likelihood of success goes up when you have a track record. That's why you see people like on Shark Tank or whatever, or you hear about investors investing in people, not in products, because they want to invest in the people that have a proven track record. So I'm trying to convince you, I have that track record, okay? I have a track record of success. So that's why I believe that doing profit sharing is not some, insert whatever word you want about some negative thing. Some people say, oh, that's just a, you're a scammer. You're just trying to take advantage of people, and you're just this, you're just that. Well, I don't blame them for thinking that way, right? I can't blame you if you feel that way, because if you don't know me, if you don't know my track record, if you haven't been with me for the past 12 years, if you haven't been a past student of mine, if, then you might just say, oh, this person must be another person who does not mean well for the world, right? But hopefully, if you've known me for the past, at least a year or two, if you've been a student of mine, if you, have any background on me whatsoever, you know that my word means a lot. right? You know that I do mean well. You know that I have been put on this earth to help change people's lives. And that is my whole mission in life, is to do what it is that I'm doing now. And the vehicle that I'm choosing to, to change people's lives with is teaching them how to code. I think coding is a great way to unlock a lot of success in life in terms of your future career path in many different facets, not just, the employer-employee relationship, but even if you are a software engineer, you have the skill set, you could also build your own business too. And the side effect of doing this internship is you get to see a little bit of the behind the scenes. You get to see a little bit of the sales and marketing efforts. You get to see and hear the stories of how it is that I operate the business behind the scenes, right? Which is kind of a unique thing. Anyway, in this internship, this guaranteed internship program, I think is an absolute game changer. I think it is, the cheesy word is innovative. I think this is an innovative solution that I haven't seen on the marketplace before. Some other programs offer internships. Some of them are paid internships, but they are at the whim. They are dependent on external companies, and the external companies only having a certain number of slots open, so they have to limit the number of seats that they can, offer in terms of these internship positions. So the way it's being played out is I'm gonna have every seat available. So if you graduate from this coding bootcamp, which the next one launches in September, but anyway, we launch every month, coderscampus.com/bootcamp if you're interested. If you graduate from the bootcamp, or even just before you graduate, I think once you get to near the end of the bootcamp, you should have enough skills to be able to contribute to a team. So the way we do it is, if you're close to graduating or you have graduated, you are invited to be part of the next internship cohort, right? So you're able to hop on there and you have unlocked your seat and you are welcomed and whatnot. It's not mandatory that you do this. If you don't want to do this, it's perfectly okay. You can still do all of our other stuff that we offer for career services and all the advice and everything that many people have done in the past to land jobs, their first entry-level job on their own without having to do any sort of internship, right? It's entirely possible to do it without the internship. However, it becomes exceedingly easier to be able to land that once you have the internship under your belt. A good example of this is one of our students 2 days ago, as of the recording of this message. So once this goes out, it's been at least a week, or obviously way more than a week if you're listening to this well into the future. One of our students, JP, who was in the internship, was able to get a job interview because he had listed some experience on his resume, and they were interested enough to see he's got some experience. He went on the job interview, and then he was able to speak to the internship position that he had. So they actually asked him, they said, tell us more about this company that you're working with, right? And he was able to say with integrity and with confidence, yeah, here's what I did on the team. Here's how it worked. Here's the problems that we ran into. Here's how we solved them. And lo and behold, 2 days ago, he got a phone call. They offered him a position as an entry-level developer doing Java software development. When this comes together like that, it's not a surprise to me, right? It makes sense. This is what employers want you to have. They want to see that you have experience. If you and any other entry-level developer are applying to the same position, but you have real-world experience on your resume, guess who they're going to look at first? Guess who they're going to pick up the phone and call first? The person with the real-world experience. Like, duh. Anyway, okay. I'm getting animated. So I think this is innovative, right? Let's use the word innovative. I'm very proud of this. I'm very excited about this. The students inside who are doing this are very excited about this. And I want to make sure that I get this message out to the world, because I feel like if I try to, not talk about this, I might be doing, potentially you listening to this right now, a disservice, right? You might be in a position where you just need to figure out how to get that real world experience. Maybe you're someone, like I said, who already has some coding knowledge, and you just need to prove to the real world that you have this coding knowledge. You just need that break. You just need that first way to get that real world experience. And I'm working on a program now to help you out as well, right? So, right now the way that this works is if you go through the coding bootcamp that we have, then you'll unlock a seat in this internship program, a guaranteed position. But what if you're in a situation where you don't need a boot camp? You've already learned everything you need to know. You feel confident about it. Well, I'm trying to come up with a program where all you need to do is prove to me that you actually know that stuff. So you maybe we would just do certificates or something. So you take certification type exams and just say, okay, take your front end exam, take your, Java programming exam, your core Java, your frameworks exam, like your Spring and your Hibernate exam, and a SQL exam or something. So maybe we have some certs that you can take. And once you pass all those certs and prove to me that you actually know this stuff, then we invite you into the internship too, right? So that's a different program I'm working on. If for some reason that is something you're super interested in because you don't need a coding bootcamp, maybe reach out to me and send me an email, trevor@coderscampus.com. Trevor, Trevor, at coderscampus, right, .com. Don't send it to Coder Campus. A lot of people leave the S out, the first S. It's coderscampus.com. So trevor@coderscampus.com. I should probably leave my email in the link in the description below or whatever. So I'll try to remember to do that. So shoot me an email and say, hey, I'm interested in this whole certifications program you talked about on your podcast episode. That should be enough. You can say that, and that should be enough to, jog my memory and have me say, oh, okay, cool. So, because I don't know, maybe no one's interested in that. I don't know. Or maybe you are. So if you are, please do reach out. Cool. So I'm super excited about this. I feel compelled to tell the world about this. I figured the podcast is a great place to do it. So I will do it through this mechanism, through this vehicle. And if you have any questions about it or thoughts or comments or even concerns, I don't know, feel free to reach out, right? I just gave you my email address. Feel free to reach out. And if you're just saying like, okay, Trevor, this sounds great. How do I get started? Where do I go? Right? So I would say go to coderscampus.com/bootcamp. Right? And there's an apply button somewhere in there, right? You can apply to the bootcamp. Typically, we have the most availability and options for people who are living in the US. But if you're not in the US, if you're in Canada or the UK or, whatever, there's definitely still a possibility of you joining the program. So it's just that we have most of our financing options available for people in the US. Right? So if you are someone who is completely, out on their luck and you just can't afford anything right now, but you do have a decent credit score, then yeah. And if you're in the US, we have lots of options for you. Ones with very, very low down payments, like you can get started for, I think, $200 or something, and then you don't pay anything for 12 months, right? There are those financing options available. And if you're not in the US, we definitely have payment plans. We have, I will try to do everything I can to make it so it is as affordable as possible for you. If this is something that you feel like you have to do, that you need to do, that will be life-changing, and it feels like this Trevor guy on the internet is the guy who can help me out, because I can, right? I've been doing this for 12 years, so not my first rodeo. Cool? So, coderscampus.com/bootcamp to check that out. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for taking the time to, take in everything that I just said. Hopefully, everything that I said was helpful. Hopefully, you got some sort of value somewhere in the episode. And as always, I wish you the very, very best on your journey. So, with that, take care of yourself. Happy learning, and bye for now.